Hey everybody, getting started. It's only a little bit late this time. Anyway, it's time for the weekly news recap for the 31st to the 6th of August, 2023. Is the mic working? Yes, it is. Okay, good. Anyway, getting into it. So, some updates. So, last time we checked in on Ratatan. It has now started and completed its Kickstarter, or not completed, achieved. We'll say its goal. It was only asking for a very small amount of money. So if you might recall, Ratatan we talked about last week and the week before is a spiritual successor to Patapon because Sony are doing nothing with the IP and won't give it to anybody else to do something with. So fuck it, we'll just make a different game. That is basically the exact same thing. Anyway, it has achieved its original goal, which was only 141k. It's quite low for development, which would suggest they probably have external partners lined up as well. But anyway, it earned its minimum funding target in just over 45 minutes, so that is extremely fast, which would suggest there's quite a lot of appetite for this kind of game. It has now reached its console version stretch goal, which was a further 523,000 US dollars, 75 million yen. So originally it was only going to be PC. Now it has achieved console versions. So according to them, once we hit the console stretch goal, our plan is to release Ratatan on all current gen consoles. So Xbox, PS5, Switch. Sorry, Xbox Series X and S, it should say, because Microsoft will not allow you to release a game on Series X and not on S. PS5 and Switch. Additionally, they've unlocked, or I think are working towards unlocking, a stretch goal to collaborate with David Wise, who some of you may know as the composer behind the Donkey Kong Country series. Excellent music, and since Patapon is very, or not Patapon, oh, Patapon is, but also Ratatan is very much focused on the music. That's a good get for them if they can get it. And as pointed out here, Patapon, that it is the spiritual successor to, was originally released on the PSP back in 2007. It's been a while. It has been a while, so good luck to them. Disclosure, I am backing it myself, so, jump in. It's gonna get a console release now, so you don't really have an excuse, unless you just don't like music games, which is fine, I suppose. You're probably not gonna like this next game either then. Jet Set Radio like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk coming to PlayStation and Xbox in September. So this was somewhat believed to have been a Switch and PC exclusive, but as it turns out now, perhaps they were just having some issues with certification or something on PS5 and Xbox. But for whatever reason, it'll be out 2 weeks later than the Switch release for PlayStation and Xbox. So it's coming out 1st of September, PlayStation and Xbox, and 2 weeks earlier, 18th of August. Soon enough, actually, on Switch and PC. Bomber Cyberpunk is, again, spiritual successors, because they keep having to do spiritual successors, because the original owners of the original IP just refuse to do anything with them. Spiritual successor, Jet Set Radio, spiritual successor, Nazi Tactics, spiritual successor, Patapon, and so on, because owners won't actually do anything with it anyway. Players will skate, skateboard, and cycle through the futuristic streets of New Amsterdam, dodging militarized police, spraying graffiti, and facing off against other crews. You can kind of think of it, and the Jet Set Radio people will be very angry with me for saying it this way, but it is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but cell shading. Kinda. So don't kill me, please. Anyway, it'll be available on PS4, 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S on 1st of September, and as already known, 18th of August for the Switch and PC, so that'll be good. Moving on, the Epic Games Store free games for this week are Bloons TD6. Oh, 6 already. God, it's been so long since Bloons 1. When did that come out? I don't even know. I've never heard of the series before. Anyway, it's apparently a mega popular tower defense game that definitely doesn't look like a mobile game. Definitely not. Anyway, I think it's like a water balloons tower defense type situation. Anyway, it's free, I guess, if you're into that kind of thing. And then the other game is Loop Hero, which I do actually know. The Lich has thrown the world into a timeless loop and plunged its inhabitants into never-ending chaos. Wield an expanding deck of mystical cards to place enemies, buildings, and terrain along each unique expedition loop for the brave hero. So Loop Hero is also tower defense. It's a tower defense roguelike. Why is Sans in this? Anyway, it's a tower defense roguelike type game that is very good. And I don't even like tower defenses. I like Loop Hero is a good game. Anyway, moving on. Those are the free ones on Epic until Thursday. So you have until Thursday to redeem those. Coming to the start of the month, we don't. I think I did PlayStation Plus last week. Anyway, we have Game Pass. So the first half of August Game Pass, we're going to be looking at A Short Hike, Airborne Kingdom, Broforce Forever, Limbo, and Everspace 2. So, what are those games? A Short Hike is a very chill, or like a Sunday afternoon type game. Just going on a short hike, and you get into shenanigans if you want to. You don't have to. You can just keep going on your hike, or you can, have a slight detour to do some shenanigans instead. Hike, climb, and soar through the peaceful mountainside landscapes of Hawk Peak Provincial Park. Follow the marked trails or explore the backcountry as you make your way to the summit. Along the way, meet other hikers, discover hidden treasures, and take in the world around you. It is very much a very chill game. I have mentioned a Little Gator game that is a bit more recent version of this same concept. Is just here's a kind of sandbox area. Go about doing. You have some overarching goal. In a short hike's case, it's get to the top of the mountain, and engage in activities along the way if you want to. Little Gator game is something similar. Broforce Forever. Broforce is an action-packed, side-scrolling, run-and-gun ode to freedom, putting you in control of an underfunded, overpowered paramilitary organization dealing exclusively in excessive force. Included is the long-awaited Broforce Forever content, which offers an improved and expanded campaign, with new unlocks along with 6 new ultra-patriotic bros and 4 new democracy-spreading challenge levels. So Broforce is like a super 80s, 90s action movie kind of thing. You're just going to be seeing a lot of the hero characters, we'll say, from that period of cinema and games and so on. So you've like Conan the Barbarian or Bronan the Brobrarian as they go with that kind of thing. The Brominator for the Terminator and that kind of thing. It's very much does not take itself seriously in any way. It's fun for in small bursts. I couldn't really take it for very long just because the gameplay got very samey IMO. But it's fun and its concept is kind of hilarious. Limbo, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, but we'll go into it anyway. Limbo is an award-winning indie adventure, critically acclaimed for its captivating puzzle design and immersive sound and visuals. Its dark, misty spaces and haunting narrative will stay with you forever. Yeah, it's pretty creepy, alright. Especially that spider. Anyway, Limbo is a walk-right game and do physics puzzles that are, at least at the beginning, it's more of a case of what am I supposed to do? And then at the end, it's like, you know what you're meant to do, but like, how make work, how this solve puzzle. Anyway, Airborne Kingdom I am not familiar with. Is a stunning airborne city building and management game. That's probably why. Grow your unique town among the clouds and fly it across a wide open landscape. Explore the skies to restore serenity to the world below. This sounds like a BioShock Infinite, but you're the baddies kind of thing. Anyway, Everspace 2, available now on PC and coming soon. Step into the pilot seat in this fast-paced single-player space shooter where brutal challenges stand between you and epic loot. Embark on a sci-fi adventure where massive handcrafted areas are packed with secrets, puzzles, and perils. Level up, craft, and loot better gear to survive on the edge of space. I was with you all up until you said epic loot, and now I know it is a grind fest. Anyway, those are your Game Pass games for the first half of August. Short Hike, Airborne Kingdom, Broforce Forever, Limbo, and Everspace 2. Anyway, those are some of the games you can play eventually, but what if you wanted to play something right now? Well, if you have a decent PC, you can play Baldur's Gate 3, you dickhead. I really want to play Baldur's Gate 3, but my PC will not manage it. So I have to wait for the console version that's about 5 weeks away or something like that. Anyway, Baldur's Gate 3, very much long-awaited sequel-ish to the Baldur's Gate series. You can kind of jump into it without really knowing anything about the first two. A D&D game that isn't some kind of weird arena shooter or online shenanigans thing. It's like a proper D&D campaign, like Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, Neverwinter Nights 2, and so on. It's like the kind of games BioWare used to make. basically, before EA bought them, pretty much. Yeah, I'm dying to play this, but I will have to wait so that the PS5 version comes out, and I'll be able to play it on that. Hopefully, it's decent performance until I get an actual gaming PC, which I don't know when that's gonna happen. Probably never. It's so fucking expensive, and I do have the Steam Deck now, but it's not. I need to check in to see if the Steam Deck can actually handle it. Usually wait a little while. Oh my, sexy times. Anyway, yes, this will probably take up a decent chunk of my. It's going to take up the entirety of the rest of 2023, pretty much. Anyway, that's Baldur's Gate 3. If you have a decent PC, you can play it. Moving on. Okay, it is now time, unfortunately, to talk about the worst parts of video games. Video game industry. So, preservation fail. Hasbro wants old Transformers games re-released, except Activision might have lost them. So this is coming from TechDirt. TechDirt is more of an editorial outlet rather than the opposite of editorial. Not sure what that is. Anyway, basically they're like an opinion piece, more or less. But it does kind of highlight the central story, which was Hasbro came out earlier this week to kind of say that, yeah, we want our games on Game Pass. The Transformers games specifically. But when we contacted Activision, they told us they had lost the games and they don't know where they are. They're on a hard drive somewhere. Well, I don't know where. And that got a big stink. It was a couple of days later before Activision said, this isn't true, we have not lost the games. And then Hasbro responded to that to basically say, yeah, my bad. We misunderstood, I guess. Took them a couple of days to come back and say, no, we have not lost the game. Might suggest they did send somebody on an expedition to go find it. Or they might be taking shenanigans with the semantics. We haven't lost it exactly. We know where it is. We just don't know where the hard drive is. Okay. Anyway, we'll get into it here. Might suggest that there's something else going on. Anyway. So, in the game's preservation kind of thing, copyright law prevents individuals and in some cases institutions from preserving and making those games available to the public, like a library or a museum would be able to. So this is kind of going back to how copyright is getting in the way of what it's actually supposed to do, which is incentivizing people to make things, but then also making those things available to the public. It's that second bit that doesn't seem to ever happen for some reason. Hasbro wanted to re-release several older Transformers video games, but they can't. They wanted to re-release Transformers War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, and Rise of Dark Spark. Nobody cares about the third one, but the first two, first two are pretty decent. And we should care about the third one just from a games preservation standpoint, but critically it was not well received, mostly because it was meant to tie in with the films, whereas the first two, War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, were completely standalone stories. They were yanked from digital stores, as many licensed games tend to be, making them hard to acquire and play in 2023. Hasbro now wants to change, suggesting the games could make a good fit for Xbox Game Pass, but Activision can't find them. It seems that these games may or may not exist on some piece of hardware, but Activision literally cannot find the hard drive involved. Activision's lack of organization seems to have caused some headaches for Hasbro's toy designers who are working on the Gamer Edition figures. So they're wanting to make... They're essentially trying to get the game out on Game Pass, and then at the same time they're going to make like the Optimus Prime that was in Fall of Cybertron or War of Cybertron or whatever. And what they wanted to do was, can you like send us the game code so that we can, get the actual models, 3D models themselves, and get them out and, have a look at them, and then we can go about crafting the plastic thing to go with it. And the issue was, we don't know where that is. So, hey, here's some concept art. Does that help? They're like, no, concept art does not help. For World of Cybertron, we had to rip it ourselves because Activision could not find it. I think they meant War of Cybertron. But anyway, they kept sending concept art instead, which we didn't want. So we booted up an old computer and ripped them all out from there, which was a learning experience and a long weekend because we just wanted to get it right. So that's why we did it like that. They had to resort to a ROM hack, effectively, which most copyright holders are very, very much against. They don't want you doing that shit. They don't want you doing things with things you own. which they shouldn't have a say in, but apparently they do because copyright. Anyway, so yeah, they had to basically boot up an emulator, find a code, find a ROM hack, find an ISO, or rip the ISO out of their own disk if they had it themselves, and do it that way instead of just literally having the code at their fingertips, which they should have had because they fucking own it. But anyway, what's strange is that despite the above, Activision responded to initial reports of all of this, indicating that the headlines were false, and it does in fact have the code, possibly, maybe. If they did, why did Hasbro have to resort to piracy, effectively? If they had the code, why couldn't they just get the model? Apparently Activision do have it, so what's going on there? Hasbro itself then followed up apologizing for the confusion, also saying that it had made an error in stating the games were lost, in quotes. Again, it's not lost. We know where it is. We just don't know where the hard drive is. Activision has yet to confirm if it actually knows where the source code for the game is specifically located. Hasbro claimed to not have access to key assets when developing its toy based on the games. If they did in fact know where the code was and had it to hand, why did they have to go to that length for their games? Basically the crux of the issue. So yeah, we're not really going to know what this is because they're going to want to keep it at least a cordial relationship with each other, so they're not going to like accusing them of just whatever. Hasbro may have jumped the gun on something like that, but it does highlight a huge issue for games preservation, which is you can just straight up lose the code. And since you're the copyright owner, you're the only person who has the code, because copyright law is ridiculous. So that could just be lost. And there are many, many games that that has happened to. There are a great bunch of older SNES, NES titles where the original developer... Hey Tino, how you getting on? The original developer would have just not had as much reverence for the source code as you might expect. They just saw it as a money-making thing, and once the money had been made, well, you don't need to keep the code anymore. You know, the game's been out, made its money. We need the space, just delete it. And that's literally what happened. You know, there's games where you cannot get the actual original source code anymore. Because of that, the only way you can access it is literally a ROM. It has to be. You have to download an ISO or the ROM to get it because the original files are just not there anymore. That's why games preservation needs to be taken more seriously, but it doesn't. Anyway, moving on. Twitch bans streamers from promoting skin gambling sites. So Twitch has finally dropped the hammer on the CSGO gambling people. So Twitch new guidelines will ban promotion and sponsorships of skin gambling sites. If you're not familiar with this concept, primarily it's Counter-Strike Go. But there's a lot of different games that do this. And basically you can acquire skins, you know, for your gun, for your character, for your knife, for whatever. And the skin gambling things are basically loot crates, slot machines. You know, you keep going, I want this particular thing, and you pull a button and something random comes up, and you hope it's the thing you want, but it almost certainly is not. But the thing you want will be tantalizingly close to make you keep clicking on the button. And most of the scandals around this was that people who had a stake in the site itself would be promoting it without saying they had a stake in it. They'd be saying, hey, look at this cool site I found that I'm definitely not part owner of and get a commission on every single thing. Don't look into it, please. And they would promote it. And not only that, that when they were showing it off, they'd be in a kind of sandboxed version of the site so that they would always get good shit. You know, making it look like, hey, the chances of you getting good stuff is really high, when it is, in fact, basically zero. Anyway, skin gambling promotions, such as for CSGO skins, is now permitted? No, the other one. Prohibited, alongside things like slot roulette or dice games. What's kind of interesting and a bit kind of shitty, because it seems like they're coming down much heavier on video games than anything else, the broadcasting of websites centered around fantasy sports, sports betting, and poker are still fine. Why? Still gambling. Why is that okay, but the CSGO one isn't? That's not great. Anyway, kind of pointed out in a VGC report, sorry, not a VGC report, they reported on it. It's a CSGO, hang on. VGC reported on research from CSGO streamer, I don't know how to pronounce this now. Whatever. Who looked into the top 300 CSGO streamers and found that around 75% of them are sponsored by a skin gambling website. Yeah, it's not great. That's not great. Anyway, Twitch has is prohibiting it, whether it actually comes down on the people who make Twitch all their money, or if it just comes after like the 1%, or not the 1%, the 90% of streamers who have like one or two people watching their streams. Anyway, moving on. Elden Ring and Bloodborne composer Yuka Kitamura leaves FromSoft. So Kitamura has been with FromSoft for like 12 years. They started on one of the more recent, I say recent, Armored Cores. Armored Core Victory Day, I think, was like a Vita version of it. Anyway, they worked on Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, Deracine, the VR game that nobody knows about, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and Elden Ring. So yeah, she's kind of responsible for some of the best music in that series. She has decided to today I have an announcement to make. I've decided to leave FromSoft, the company I work for, and to start working as a freelance composer in August, which is this month. So she's no longer an employee of FromSoft, but the idea that they wouldn't retain her for future games is a little, of course they will. But this does open her up to working on other series, other brand new IP, maybe changing her music a little bit. I would imagine the Soulsy type games, at least. She's done a lot of it at this point. Maybe she wants to try something else. It's not clear if she did any work on Armored Core 6 yet. We don't know we don't have the credits list for Armored Core 6, so she could have. But that's interesting because, we might see her music on other things. Hopefully, moving forward. Anyway, but the idea that she won't be on Dark Souls 4, Bloodborne 2, or whatever, like that'll ever happen. But, if it ever does, we might see her music in there. The Callisto Protocol developer Striking Distance Studios lays off 32 employees as it looks to realign priorities. Of course, but you know who didn't get fired? Anyway, Striking Distance Studios, the developer behind last year's sci-fi horror The Callisto Protocol, has laid off 32 employees amid efforts to realign the studio's priorities. The developer wrote, Striking Distance Studios and publisher Krafton have implemented strategic changes that realign the studio's priorities to better position its current and future projects for success. Unfortunately, these changes have impacted 32 employees, and wouldn't you know it, it's the 32 lowest paid ones. Anyway, honoring the invaluable contributions of each departing team member with material support in the form of outplacement services and severance packages, yada, 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 whatever. You still fired people for no fault of their own, but okay. So what is the reason behind this? The reason behind this is because Callisto Protocol didn't sell well. It was expected to shift 5 million copies. Game itself costed like 132 million pound sterling to make over 3 years, but was unlikely to hit that target now, given just 2 million copies had been sold. So less than half of what they expected to sell. And the people who made the decisions around the game, creative director, producer, publisher, lead artists, writers and so on, they kept their job. But like associate, shitheel, associate gopher guy, no, he's gonna lose his job instead, despite that not being his fault in any way. But the higher ups, they get to keep their job, even though they made all of the decisions that had the game not be critically well received. Capitalism. Moving on. Take-Two doubled its executives' pay last year. Not an extra 2%, not, an extra little bit. Doubled their pay. Jesus Christ. And my highlights were not kept on this page. Anyway, Take-Two has doubled the pay of its top executives as detailed in its annual proxy filings. The publisher has doubled pay for its top executives, Strauss Zelnick and the president, Karl Slatov, who most people don't know. Strauss Zelnick, I think a lot of people will know as the guy who should not be in charge of video games. There we are. Disclosed that their pay of 72.3 million in a mix of cash and stock. That's to be divided between the two of them, with Zelnick getting the majority of it. Compensation actually paid Zelnick in fiscal 2023 was 42.1 million, more than 2.5 times his previous year's amount. What did Take-Two do last year that meant he should have 2.5 times his original salary? When was the last time you got a raise of 2.5? No. When was the last time you got a raise of 250%? When did that happen last time? It's never. That never is when it happens. Unless Stress Railink is watching this stream, which I highly doubt. Executive. Okay, this is kind of something you should be looking out for because this happens a lot in the C-suite, E-suite guys. The executives are paid jointly through the management company, of which they are partners. They are partners of the payment company that pays them. Yeah, that's not. There's no conflict there. There's no conflict there at all. The company. What was I gonna say? Yeah, it's okay. It's this bit here. The company hitting growth goals for microtransactions now determines 25% of their compensation, compared to 12.5% previously. So yeah, expect to see considerably more microtransactions going forward in Take-Two's properties. So Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be disgusting with microtransactions. Yay, can't wait. But yeah, doubled their salary for doing fucking nothing because Take-Two did nothing last year. They released a basketball game and that was about it. It's just GTA Online. It's just making them so much money. Anyway, moving on. All right, we'll finish off with some silly things around from the community. So Street Fighter 6 tournament accidentally flashes Chun-Li nude mod. Right, so there was a Street Fighter 6 tournament going on. I'm not going to show this because I don't want to get banned, but it's not even that bad really, but you know, just in case. You can go look for this website, you know, you'll find it. It's not very difficult. The mod isn't even very good. Anyway, there was a European tournament that was a bunch of online players, PC, Street Fighter 6, and somebody had installed a Chun-Li mod that removed all of her clothes. And they got into about like 10 seconds of the game before the stream was pulled down. But yeah, maybe make sure people don't have questionable mods installed on their game. I was kind of wondering how you would even allow modified versions of the game to be played in tournament. I guess they don't have a strict enough check on that kind of thing. But you would think, no, I have a mod that gives me 200% more health, or I have a mod where Hadouken does 100% damage to your character, like that kind of thing. And they don't check ahead of time that it's like a small amount, you know, enough that it's a little bit more than most people get. Anyway, yeah, it's pretty hilarious, and the commentary team are just barely holding it together while it's going through. But yeah, it was pretty funny. Anyway, that was the news for 31st to the 6th of August 2023. We'll leave Baldur's Gate to play in the background. Anyway, that was the news. So yeah, some updates. You know, there's a lot of music games on the way. Ratatan and Bomber Cyberpunk. Bomber Cyberpunk getting slight delay, but we didn't think it was coming out for PlayStation or Xbox in the first place, so it's good. Would be better if it came out at the same time as the Switch and PC version, but whatever, it'll work out. And Ratatan has like demolished its funding goals, so that will be hitting PC and all current gen consoles whenever it comes out. You know, who knows when it'll actually be finished development. Kickstarter games can take a very long time to go through. Xbox Game Pass games seem decent enough. A Short Hike and Limbo are very good games. I would suggest if you do have Game Pass, go play those if you have not already. I've already forgotten what the other three games are. Baldur's Gate 3 has pretty much taken over Steam at this point. It has a ridiculous amount of concurrent users. I'm very jealous of people who have a PC that can play it, because I really want to. But I'm going to have to wait for the console version. Anyway, then we have Activision losing the code for licensed games. Like, these are people who would have enough legal power to really go after Activision for that kind of thing, and they're totally fine with losing it. They were totally fine with just losing that code. Or maybe they didn't lose it, who knows? We'll never really know, but it sounds like they don't have the code for War of Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, and who knows how many other games in the Activision back catalogue that isn't there and isn't being preserved. Good shit. What else do we have? Striking Distance, firing the people who were not involved in their problems, but they're the ones who get let go. It's kind of bullshit. I imagine it's just the severance package for the higher level people at the company is just too expensive for them to let them go right now. Anyway, and Chun-Li flashes the European Street Fighter 6 tournament. Anyway, that's the news. Hey Melwin, anyway, that was the news for 31st and 6th of August 2023, but what is happening on the channel? So, get our roadmap up. Right. So, for people who may not be familiar with this is the plan for the second half of 2023, so July to December 2023. These are the games that are planned to be featured on the channel. So, green border, green symbol, it has been featured. Yellow border, yellow symbol, it is currently being featured. And gray means it's on its way. And if it doesn't have one, I don't know, eventually. A lot of these games aren't even out yet, so, cut me some slack. Anyway, that is the plan from them. So, RoboCop's there. We definitely will be playing it. Whether it'll be a full LP or not, maybe. I don't know. It depends how short it is. If you can see these golden wedge symbols, it means they're full Let's Plays. If there isn't one, it's not a full Let's Play. I haven't decided for games that are not out yet. I'll wait until they're out. Usually I don't. I wait until they've been out for a while so people aren't being spoiled. But anyway. So this week we finished The Sinking City. Yeah, it's complete. The story is over. I know some of you are looking to play it yourselves, so I won't go into the details around it. But yeah, it's a fun game, if extremely janky, and is very much a prototype for where the Sherlock Holmes games are going now. And that was kind of its whole deal. Yeah, just the combat is garbage, and that's why we put it on easy mode for the combat. But otherwise, the storyline is interesting. The detective elements are fun as well. Side content's not great, but yeah, that's done. It's up on the channel, the full playthrough, if you want to check it out yourselves. And we had Oxenfree 2. Oxenfree 2 we played on the channel on Friday as part of my Foley Plays Games a Bit series, where we play newly released games for a bit. It is, I think, the first time I've played a game that's been published by Netflix. So I think if you have a Netflix subscription, there's some way for you to just get this on mobile, at least. I don't know about PC. Anyway, Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals is a sequel, as you might imagine, to Oxenfree 1. It takes place in this kind of small town America thing, where strange portals opening to alternate dimensions, perpendicular dimensions, as they're mentioned in the game. Not parallel dimensions, perpendicular ones. Okay, interesting. What about tangential dimensions? Do they exist? I don't know. That is actually a perpendicular one. Anyway, it's fun. It's really well written. The characters are very interesting, and it has a lot of kind of choice and consequence going on with it. The original game is very good, and is on my shortlist for Holy Fables, games where we play them pretty much just for their story. Yeah, I'm very interested to jump into Oxenfree 1 and Oxenfree 2 on the channel, hoping they will come up on the Oracle of video games. Anyway, moving on. Next week. So next week's going to be a bit of an oops all Final Fantasies, because as I mentioned, I don't remember if I mentioned it as part of the news recap or as just in a game, but a friend of mine wants to play Remnant 2 co-op, and if you look at my stream schedule, I don't have many days off, so I'm going to have to just make a day. So we're going to take a break on Foley Fables for a while, and we'll do Final Fantasy 1 as is here, and we'll be doing Final Fantasy 16 continuing, because those games are still in progress. Since we finished The Sinking City, we're just going to leave that blank for now. So Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 16 we'll be playing next week, as well as It Takes Two with Melwen on Saturdays, if both of us are around. We weren't able to do it this week, and actually we weren't able to play the original Final Fantasy this week either, but that is the plan for next week, that we will do the two Final Fantasies and It Takes Two on Saturday with Melwen. So that should be the plan going forward. So our schedule for next week: Tuesday, OG Final Fantasy; Wednesday, most modern Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy 16; I'll be playing Remnant on Thursday. I'll have D&D on Friday, and then Saturday we'll have co-op It Takes Two with Melwin, and Sunday we'll be right back around to the weekly news recap. So that is your news and your channel update for the 31st of August to the 6th of June. It's definitely it's oops all Final Fantasies week. 31st to the 6th of August 2023, and your channel update for the same. Right, bit of a short one this week, but that's because not a whole lot happens. Like, everyone's playing Baldur's Gate. What can I say? Everyone but me. Damn it. Right, I'm gonna head off. Melwin, I believe, is playing Scorn later today. If you want to drop by their channel around 8 o'clock, it's fun if disgusting game. Melwin and myself, neither of us are playing Baldur's Gate 3. But everybody else is playing Baldur's Gate 3. Even you, person who's watching this in the future, you were playing Baldur's Gate 3. Don't deny it. Anyway, yeah, Melvin is playing Scorn later today around 8 o'clock my time. It is currently 1:45. Figure out your own time zones and what that'll be. Anyway, I'm going to head off. Have a good rest of your day, and hopefully see some of you Tuesday for Final Fantasy. Okay, have a good one. Bye-bye.